Hello everyone, my name is Vam, and welcome to Zero Cut Profiles Domain Dissection Edition, where we are going to be taking a look at a deck profile for the Domain format. If you don't know what that format is, basically, 60 card deck, singleton format. You get a deck master that has a bunch of special rules tied to it, as well as you are only allowed to use the monsters from your deck master's attribute, type, and archetype, or any of those that they mention. So, with all those rules in play, you can have a whole lot of fun. I highly recommend checking it out. There's even a website, you know. But anyways, today we are going to be taking a look at my personal build for a Gem Knight Pearl profile from Golden Nova's first character duel video a while back now, I think it was. But the idea is today to show it off, because in that video, if you go check it out, which I do highly recommend by the way, you will notice that I got eliminated very early because I was basically, with a very bad hand, forced to play Fossil Dyne Pachycephalo, and it made everyone annoyed, especially my neighbor, who ended up killing me. Oh, that's the important part as well. It's 4 players, which is even more chaotic, but in an absolutely amazing way. So today, I'm hoping to show that off and clear my name for not being just the Pachycephalo player. However, with the spirit of Domain Duels not being as short as NR duels or TCG duels, there is not going to be a full-on gameplay today. However, I recommend go checking out the video, and today I'm just going to be going through card by card, and especially with this being a character-based deck, with Gem Knight Pearl being the representative for Pearl of the Crystal Gems of Steven Universe, which is also mentioned in the video, I'm going to be going through and talking about why I made the decisions I did, and from there, I can talk about some of the choices for the power level. So, without further ado, let's start with our our deck master, sorry. We have Gem Knight Pearl, an Earth Rock level 4, attack 26, defense 1900, who is not good. It's not a very good deck master, it's not very good in Gem Knights, but the idea is that it has the rock typing, as opposed to most of the other Gem Knight fusions, who we can just quickly dab through. Lady Brilliant Diamond is meant to represent the diamonds. It's also a rock, but it's a little bit harder to summon and represent a single character. We have Master Diamond, again diamonds, rock, Zirconia. Lady Rose Diamond is a fairy, which would have been harder to incorporate. We wouldn't get Adamancipators. We have a Thunder-type Prismara, an Aqua-type Amethyst, a Pyro-type Ruby, and a Fairy-type Seraphonite. We have a couple of options from there, including Dragite, which is Water Rock. This isn't our deck master, however, it is important that our deck master gets to show it off. This is a Spell Trap Negate, very easy to summon with something like an Adamancipator Analyzer, as well as Adamancipator Ryzen Leonite, which is a level 6, again, very easy to summon with something like a Seeker, or with an Adamancipator Researcher and another one of our level 4s. Next we have Ausa, the Earth Tremor Removable. I'm going to the extract first because that one's really easy. This one is a generic Earth that is really, really nice. Then we have Gem Knight Phantom Quartz, which gets most of our combos online. We have Geonator Transverser because this card's funny and it's also an Earth and a Rock, so we can easily play it. And it can occasionally come up. Sadly, it didn't in the actual duel, but I'm not going to spoil too much. Next we have Cross Sheep, which is an Earth, so we can play it, and if a fusion is special summoned to the zone it points to, you can special summon a level 4 lower monster from the graveyard, which is really, really nice. And we have Link Spider because we're playing a lot of normal monsters, so in case we brick, if we brick the right way, we can still use it and get to hopefully something like a Phantom Quartz, maybe a Geonator, something. I don't know, it's kind of hard to go from there, but it could be useful. To start off with, we're going to fire off the normal monsters. We have Garnet, Tourmaline, Sapphire, and Lapis. And if you have watched Steven Universe, you will know that 3 out of the 4 of these are primary, or at least semi-primary, gems. Garnet is one of the fighters, as well as Sapphire being one of the materials to make Garnet. Yes, it's a little confusing. Ruby is the other material. And then we have Lapis, who was a water-based gem, and I believe had some connections with Jasper, who sadly I don't believe is a Gem Knight. But we have Tourmaline, which was not there. However, I figured I'd rep all the Gem Knights and play Tourmaline because Prismara is a pretty good monster. Next we have Nibiru. I know, it looks like the No Fun Police. However, this card is not going to come up nearly as often as you think it is, and it represents one of the giant meteors. I believe it was in the Bacon, Pork Chop episode? I don't remember. That was hurtling towards the city, Beach City. Next, we have Lord of the Heavenly Prisons, which is a Brock. It's a good card. Doesn't represent anything in specific. Feel free to come up with your own interpretations, and in fact, leave them in the comments if you have any interpretations of these cards that I don't specifically mention. Next, we have Gaia Plate the Earth Giant, another really good high-level rock that allows us to capitalize on having rocks and more rocks, and it can slap things really hard. Anyway, moving on, we have Block Dragon, who is Block Dragon. As many people have said, unlock the block in the TCG. Next, we have Prime Mineral Manstrong, who you can think of as representing, I believe there's some gem animals, like the lion, but that's more represented by Leonite than anything. Manstrong is just, back row bait. It can be pretty useful. It's more just rock flavor. It's interesting, and it's big statted. Next we have Redox, Dragon Ruler Boulders, which is a good card. It can banish Earth monsters or Dragon monsters, special summon it, and it's a 3k. It's a big guy. Big guy used for big things. Next we have Mega Rock Dragon for a similar reason of it's a big guy that can do big things, and you can use it for link material. Importantly, you can banish a single rock, and it will only have 700 attack, but it's still a free material. You can use it just like a Gigantis, which is very funny. We aren't playing any Xyzas just for flavor reasons, and the extract got a little bit tight, but it is still nice to have these crazy dragon cards. Next, we have Gigantis, who is a good card, which it just banishes an Earth, special summons itself. It's a rock, so we can use it, and it is a Harpy's Feather Duster, and in a 4-player format, Heavy Storm is really good because it can hit every player instead of just one. Next we have Gem Knight Alexandrite, which tutors most of the Gem Knights from the deck. We are not playing Crystal, importantly. I just figured it was a little bit too bricky. How ironic. Next we have the Rock Spirit, just like Gigantis. It is another extender, and we can use it, both of them, to make Pearl, because this is still an Xyz monster. I still do want to summon it. The end goal of this deck, and what was theoretically possible with the right hand, was to summon Amethyst, Garnet, Pearl, and hopefully Lady Rose Diamond, because that would be the 4 main crystal gems, including Steven. Next we have Gem Armadillo, another searcher, which is nice. Gem Knight Quartz, which can get us to something like Brilliant Fusion. Yeah, you weren't expecting to see that, were you? Importantly, with Domain format, there is absolutely no ban list. Any card on the table, including OCG cards, as you can see right here, is completely legal. So you can play it, but you only can play 1 copy. Next we have the Adamancipator Analyzer, which is the first of many Adamancipators. Gem Knight Iolite is an Aqua Gem Knight that has some normal monster synergies, and making Link Spider and all that. It's an Aqua, so we can use it to make Amethyst, which is nice. Adamancipator Analyzer is also a nice way to swarm the field a bit. Palestine Apache Cephalo. Yeah, call me crazy. Yes, I played this. Yes, I said it. Yes, I annoyed everybody. And yes, I got eliminated. Moving on very swiftly. We have Vernisylph of the Awakening Forest. This can be used to revive basically the entire deck, because everything except for a few monsters are Earth. Then we have Vernisylph of the Flourishing Hills. Similar reason. These two search each other, and we're also playing a couple other Vernisylphs just for extra advantage. Then we have 1 Adamancipator Crystal. I figured it was worth it to have at least something like that, just in case it came up. We are playing the field spell, Laputite. And then we have Gem Turtle, which grabs us Gem Knight Fusion. This format's a lot slower than you might expect it to be, especially with casual duels, but it does come up where you can use a flip monster like this and not immediately die. Then we have Gem Knight Obsidian, which, if you know Gem Knight, is pretty decent recursion. We have Sentry Soldier of Stone. It's not perfect, but it is nice recovery to go to a couple of Link plays. This deck is more equipped for Link summons than you might expect, for not having as many Links in the extract. That's just a product of the way I built it for the character. Then we have 3 more Vernisylphs. This one draws a card, this one adds an Earth from grave to hand, and this one grabs you an Earth Fairy, which can include Gem Knight Quartz, which is a really nice interaction. Next we have Adamancipator Seeker, the second Adamancipator. We have a Morphing Jar, because that's funny. And we have a Kartorin, the Hidden Gem of the Seafront, because just about every monster in this deck that can be normal summoned is either an Earth or the occasional... I thought we had 1 water in here, maybe not. But mainly just an Earth. And so this is effectively double summon on a body that can come back if we have Dragite or something similar. I believe there's 1 more water in this deck somewhere. Next we have Brilliant Rose and Crystal Rose, which are more Gem Knight combo cards. and these can get us some advantage, they can get us to names, and they're also level 2, so we can use them for some synchro plays. Next we have Adamancipator Researcher, the by far best Adamancipator, that can special summon more rocks from the top of our deck. We finally have Lazuli, which is another Gem Knight recursion card. Now we get into the spells and traps. I know I'm flying through not mentioning everything, but a lot of these are picking up on, they're either supporting this archetype, or the names are pretty straightforward. So you can see like Gem Knight Lazuli is representing, there's not a Gem Knight Lazuli, but that was a bad example, but things like Sapphire or Lapis like I mentioned earlier. Next we have Unexpected Die because normal monsters. We have Gem Knight Fusion because this is a recurable fusion spell. We have White Elephant's Gift, which is quite interesting in this deck. If you have a normal monster, it just becomes a draw 2. Miracle Rupture is a mill. We have The Legend of Tickets, which is an OCG card. Target a card in your graveyard, place on top of the deck during the end phase of this turn. Also draw 2 cards instead of 1 for your normal draw during your next draw phase. This card is really interesting for Domain because it is recyclability. This card allows you to take one of your 1-ofs, put it on the deck, and the next turn you will draw it as well as another draw. It's nice, especially in a, air quotes, slower format. Then we have a couple of DM staples along the way I will mention. Pot of Greed, this isn't DM staple, but Pot of Avarice because we have a lot of monsters that go to the grave and we want to recycle them. We do a decent bit of comboing. Absorb Fusion is a searching fusion spell, which can come up, but it locks us into Gem Knights, which is a little scary. We have Adamancipator Signs, which is a monster reborn, and we can set an Adamancipator to the top of our deck, or any rock in fact, if we special summon back an Adamancipator. Then we have Painful Choice to get some of these in the grave, Graceful Charity, which is always a good card, basically, Foolish Burial, which can get us to some of these grave effects, like I believe Crystal Rose can take advantage of this, as well as a couple of these other cards, such as, I believe it's Gem Knight Lapis, or sorry, Gem Knight Lazuli. There we go. Now, Adamancipator Friends is a little bit of deck stacking. It does lock us into rocks, but in general, that's okay. Other than a few monsters, these are all rocks. We have enough firepower, or should I say earth power, to get us there. Then we have Brilliant Fusion, which if you've never read this card, is deck fusion summoning before deck fusion summoning was a thing, that turns into a generic normal summon boost with Seraphinite, plus dumping a Performage, Performage Trick Clown. And that will revive itself, and anyway, the format was built around it at the time. It was so good that it's actually banned in the TCG. Maybe it can come off someday, but the idea now with it is we are using it to actually fusion summon Gem Knights. I know, crazy. Next we have Scatter Fusion, which is a much worse version of Brilliant Fusion, but is still, in essence, Brilliant Fusion in a lot of ways. It fusion summons from the deck, it just has a lot more stipulations. We have Living Fossil, which is also a reborn card. You might be wondering where Monster Reborn is, and the secret is I forgot it. But anyway, we have Living Fossil, which is more on the rock theme anyways. So we can revive this and use it as another material if we revive any of these level 4 or lowers. Next, we have Premature Burial. And Premature Burial is another reborn spell. This deck can combo decently with the right hand. I just didn't get the right hand in the real duel. Next, we have Adamancipatite, which can stack the deck and gives all of our rocks the Seal of Orichalcos boost, 500 attack and defense, for basically free, as well as having a nice bonus effect on top, including this Crystal Dragite, which, as I've showed so far, has a couple of ways of being stacked. It's not the best thing to draw, but it's not the worst thing either. You can make some use of it, and it can recycle Dragite, the Synchro, in a pinch. Next, we are on to the traps. We have Chain Material, which is funny. I'm more playing this just for the memes as much as anything, but because you can use things like Phantom Quartz, I believe, and you can use stuff from the deck, you can use stuff from the graveyard. It's really nice. I know Phantom Quartz can use the grave anyways, but not everything can. Next we have Fragment Fusion, which is a way to use Gem Knights in the grave to get more Gem Knights from the extra deck, which is nice. More toolboxing into these monsters, which admittedly are not as good as they look. We have Ring of Destruction, which is a nice removal card. We have Triumphant Pulse, which is interesting, and in a sense you can kind of think of it as the Diamond's ship, this as well as Gaia Plate. And it is banishing a rock from your graveyard, 2 rocks actually, or field spells, which we are playing 1, I believe, and if I've gone through correctly, it's been a little while since I've looked at this list, that's the only field spell. Then we have Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment, and Solemn Warning. And the more I'm talking, the more I realize maybe I was the no fun police in this duel. But I got eliminated quickly, so I got what I deserved. So, if it feels like this deck profile flew by a little bit, that's because it did. I'm trying to cover a lot of cards, and I highly encourage you go do your own testing with decks like this. I highly encourage you going to check out the Domain format as well, and from here, feel free to give your own interpretations on a lot of these cards. Playing a Steven Universe, air quotes, deck for Gem Knights was a lot of fun, and the idea was very much so there. I was doing a ton of test hands, I got help from a couple of friends, and it was a great time. So, with that being said, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. My name is Vam, and leave a like, subscribe if you like more Domain content, and I will see y'all in the next video. Crystal Gem out.